Hi students, so this is our layout and design example video. As you remember, layout and design is part of a process that we talked about in PowerPoint. And we're now looking at the S part of the process. So if that CARS process goes down to the last step of stylize, that's what we're doing. As you can see, the writer here has already collected information, arranged that information into sections. You can see that there are sections here. Here's overview of organization, here's evaluation criteria. And they've also gone through and rewritten a lot of this content. So as you can see, the citations are in order, the sentences are complete sentences. This isn't an outline anymore. This is a finished draft, and the writer is on the last step, which is stylize. So for more information about that process, of course, go back to that layout and design PowerPoint, but for your reference, we're currently on that S step, that stylize step. So as I mentioned, this person has already organized everything into sections, but let's take a big wide look here. You can see the sections if you look for them. Here's methodology, overview of organizations is here, here's their evaluation section here. But from this far away look, and we can even go back more, it's difficult to pick those sections out, right? So looking from this angle, those section headers don't really stand out. So the first thing we're going to do is help that. So here's a header, right? I'm going to come over to my styles now. This is my version of Word. You might have your styles in a different location, but if you have trouble finding them, just Google your version of Microsoft Word or whatever program you use and look up how to find the styles. I can tell Word that I want this to be a level 1 heading, right? Now I'm looking at this heading and I don't like exactly how it looks. First of all, there's some spacing down here. Even when I delete that, there's a lot of spacing around it. So I'm going to delete all the space around it and then highlight it. And what I can do is go over here and modify this style. Okay? So I'm going to tell Microsoft that I like, the font, but I want it to be a little smaller. It's better. And then when I go to paragraph, I can say how much space I want before and after it. So if you look right here, it's going to show you what I'm messing with. I don't want any space after it. I just want it to be right there with the text. But then I'm going to put some space before it. We'll try that. And then we do everything in single space here. So we're going to hit OK, then OK. And as you can see, it changed. It made it a little bit smaller. It changed it so there's not so much space around it. I'm going to do this to this heading, this overview heading as well. Good. So all I'm doing, you can see, I'm finding the headings, deleting the extra space around them, and then using my styles function. And that's something that you can do too. You just have to figure out how to do it on your version of Word. As you can see, it's creating that version of the heading style that I liked. I went in there and chose for it to look like that. The reason I have to go in here and delete that space is just because the writer put those spaces in to try to space out the headings. You don't want to use enter like this to space out headings. What you want to do is, again, under modify style or wherever it is that you edit the paragraph, see here paragraph, edit the spacing there. I'm going to show you really quick. You can always go under format paragraph, and here's that same spacing option. So one of the things you want to do in this course is use these options rather than hitting enter and making manual spaces. It'll make everything much easier to work with, and also that way it doesn't look different on other people's versions of Word. Okay, so I've added all of those headings. Now one thing stands out a lot about these headings. Take a look at the 3 headings I have here and see if you notice it. One of them is different than the other 2. So I'm looking at methodology, overview, and evaluation. Do you see it? Methodology is missing its colon. There's one here, and there's one here, but there wasn't one here. Make sure all your headings are consistent. All right, so let's take a zoom out. Look at that. I can see where the headings are so much easier now. That's great. But one thing I'm noticing is this header looks really sad. Let's see what we can do to make that guy look a little bit better. First of all, and I noticed this on a lot of your investigation reports, we need to create an organized space right here. So all I did was use a tab key to create kind of like a column heading here. See how much more organized that looks? And now I'm just going to add the text memorandum, and then I'm going to just put a line there, all I did was hold down this key and then hit enter, and Microsoft knew that that's what I wanted to make. So we want this to be a little bit more noticeable, but we don't want it to be a heading. It's not a heading. So all I'm going to do is bold it and make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So now that's noticeable. This is looking a lot better. This structure here is much neater. And again, if you zoom out, that looks a lot more organized. So that's nice. Now let's go looking by section. Okay, here's our introduction. Looks perfect. It doesn't need a heading in this short memo. I can see that the author is talking about purpose and then provides goodwill here. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say purpose and goodwill, definitely take another look at that memo PowerPoint. The methodology here describes the steps that the writer took to do this research, the fact that they established 4 criteria, and then what they looked at to find information. And then here's the overview of the organizations. Okay, so from the start I can see we're looking at BB&T, 4 Oaks, and Edward Jones. Now this doesn't look bad. This isn't bad, but we can make it look better. We know that each of these paragraphs is very topic focused. This one is about BB&T. This one is about 4 Oaks. And this one is about Edward Jones. Well, it seems kind of sensical then to make these subheadings. Okay, so I selected heading 2. I'll go through and delete any extra spaces just like I did before. And then what I'm going to do is select all those and modify that style again. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I don't need it to be that big. And since I already have a bold heading, I'm going to make the subheading just italics. And then I'm going to go to that paragraph again and edit the before and after spacing and make it single spaced. Okay. So now those are my subheadings, and this is much more organized. It's easier to see what the organizations are. If I had to skim this document and I just wanted to know which organizations this person was writing about, I would see that right away. Okay, so there's that section. Let's keep going. Evaluation criteria. Okay, it looks like we've got leadership development program. The writer wants them to have a leadership development program. The writer wants them to have offices in Charleston. Nice choice. It's a cool city. A corporate philanthropy. Okay, so they want people to be sharing their profit with philanthropic organizations and less than 500 employees. Okay, so they want a smaller company. Now this is fine. Again, if you had it, something like this, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but we can make this much more organized. It was difficult for me to go through here and quickly understand what the different criteria were. So instead of numbering them like that, why not use Word's numbering system? There we go. Much more organized, much easier to see. There we go. And then I want this to stand out even more. So what I'm going to do is take the first part of the numbered bullet and just bold it. Now this isn't a heading. I'm just adding emphasis within this list. So you can do this with bulleted lists or numbered lists. That way I can quickly scan this and see what the criteria are, and that's helpful. Okay, so we've added subheadings here. We used a numbered list here. What can we do in this section? From far away, again, it looks like we have organized paragraphs that are topic focused, but we want to be able to read through this information more quickly. What do I notice first off? Okay, it looks like each of these talks about one of the different companies. Then I'm going to go and add those subheadings again. These are the same subheadings that we used last time. I'll delete the extra space there. Select all of those. Not you. There we go. And voila. Now let's read through this and see if we can do any more. BB&T offers a very attractive leadership development program. Okay, great. It's a 10-month program. Also, BB&T has 5 different branches in Charleston. Okay, so that's her first 2 criteria. Project Hope is the philanthropic partner. There's the charity one. And finally, the total number of employees is this many. Okay, so she's listed this information in order of her criteria. Why don't we do the same thing here then? Here's how we do that. The first thing she addresses is the Leadership Development Program. Next, she addresses whether they have offices in Charleston. After that, corporate philanthropy. And finally, the company size. All I'm going to do is number that as well. Now it's really easy for me to see, okay, we're evaluating BB&T. I want to skim this and know about their philanthropy. Here that information is. It's so much easier to find information here than it is here. So really quickly, I'm going to go through and add these same bulleted or numbered list items to these paragraphs. Okay, so I finished adding those, and look what a difference that makes. From even far away, we can tell which company is being evaluated and what they're evaluating. Zoom in again, and you can see how easy it is to find and compare content. If I want to compare BB&T's leadership program with Edward Jones's leadership program, I can easily find where that content is and look at what it's talking about. Let's keep going. Right away I notice something that could be improved. This is not difficult to read, but there are definitely things we can do to help. First of all, let's take these main items and bold them. That way it's easier to see. We can see here that the writer gave a different weight to each criteria item, each criterion. That's good. Now the total, I have an idea. This is the most important. Let's change its color. I'm going to go to Borders and Shading. And under the shading option here, I'm going to change it to, we'll say a muted yellow, nothing too bright. And then why don't we add a color to BB&T? Four Oaks. And Edward Jones. And I could play around with those colors and decide what's best. I'm not sure about this Edward Jones pumpkin color. It's a little hard to read. But what I've done is made it easier for the eye to go across and then to go down. So I've made it easier to say, okay, I want to look at Charleston's, Edward Jones, there it is. The color helps you divide that information. Now, there's something else that's very important here that we need to add, and that is a title. Each visual in your document needs a title. Now I just manually added that. Instead, you can right click on it and insert a caption. So right click, insert caption. You can decide if you want it to be called an equation, figure, table. We'll do figure. And hit OK. There we go. There's our caption added automatically in there. The advantage of that is if I add another one above this, the program will automatically change this to figure 2. So it'll keep up with that. Let's compare this to what we started with. We started off with a document that didn't have a lot of differentiation. And now we have a document that looks much more professional, has much more organization, and uses these styles. Now, the advantage of these styles is if I decide to edit how these headings look, I can simply modify the style from here, for example, if I wanted everything to be red, and hit OK. The program automatically changes all the headings so that they're red. See above here? This ensures that your headings are consistent. If you make a change to one of them, you can make a change to all of them. If you have a bigger document, this will be really helpful. If you have any questions about what I've gone over in this video, please let me know. But hopefully some of this information has helped you to understand how you can make a more layout and design friendly memo. Thanks for watching.